Welcome to another exciting episode of A Grain of Salt. I'm your host, Wild Bill, and I'm bringing you that grain of salt. In my last video that I did, I talked about control, and how it is difficult for those of us that understand that, when we submitted our lives to Yeshua, the Messiah, we understand that that's necessary. That's what we have to do. If He is Lord, then He is Lord. He is Master. In one place He said, "No man can serve two masters." And what He's talking about there in the meaning of that is if you have a master, if you were a slave, then you didn't have two or three or four masters, because you didn't belong to two or three or four. You belonged to one. And it was an insult. It probably would make them angry, frustrated, to have someone to order them around who was not their master. And when you submit to the lordship of Jesus, you're saying, "I am your slave, you are my master. Have your way," whatever that is. And we talked about how when you do that, that means you're out of control. That means you do not control your life anymore at all. And this is difficult. And something that kind of come across my mind to continue that is talking about worrying. When you're in control and you're controlling your life, and no wonder anxiety worldwide is an epidemic. I mean, fear, anxiety, disorders in those things, good gracious, I looked into it. You can't count the anxiety disorders that exist. And we have doctors for just about every one of them. Matter of fact, there's one invented every day. And there's medicines for miles, all to help cope with these anxieties and these fears. And these are people that, are trying to hang on with everything they've got. And fear is something they have to, it consumes them. And we have to learn, if we're submitted to Him, He's in control. And He's our master. And having said that, if He's our master, then it is His duty as our master to take care of us. Every regard of our life should be under His authority and His responsibility, not ours. Not ours. We relinquish that control when we say, "Jesus, you are my Lord." We don't have to get out and scrounge and scrape and beg and plead and all these things in order to just eke an existence out in this life until it's over. He promises that if you come into the kingdom, you are mine, and I will take care of you. In Luke 12, that's a passage, and it parallels with Matthew 6, although Luke 12 is just a few months before His death, burial, and resurrection. Prior to that, Matthew 6 is dealing with a couple of years ago in Galilee when He gave the Sermon on the Mount. But anyway, they kind of parallel with each other in the fact of do not worry. Luke 12, first 2 or 3 verses, somewhere right in there, He says, "Don't fear. Do not fear the one that can kill the body." Talking about basically the Pharisees. That was a subject line. Look it up for yourself. The religious leaders of the day. He was saying, don't fear them, that they can kill your body. In other words, be on the lookout. They're coming after you because you ain't submitted to them no more. Rather, you should fear the one who can kill the body and the spirit, casting you into hell. Don't fear. And on down, verse 22, he talks about do not worry. Don't worry about your life. You know, what you're gonna eat, or your body, what you're gonna put on it for clothes. He said life is more than food, and the body is more than clothing. In other words, you're not created just to be an eating machine that has to constantly think about, what am I going to eat next? I got to make sure that I have plenty of stockpile. As a matter of fact, the verses up above that talks about a rich man who had it made, and he had a barn that wasn't big enough because his land was producing so much, and he's talking about the greed. I can't help it. Prior to that, it was because his sermon got interrupted by a man who said, tell my brother to give me my part of the inheritance. And, you know, most people would say, yeah, it's a fair thing. I mean, the inheritance belongs to all the kids. Maybe, maybe not. It's up to mom and daddy, right? You don't necessarily get the lion's share, right? And so Yeshua says, let me tell you a story about greed. And he talks about the man who decided to tear down his barns and build bigger barns so that he would have enough room to plan and store for this life. Now, who was his Lord? He was worried and fretful and anxious about his own life, and because Yeshua said, you fool, you know, in the story, in the parable, this night your soul is required of you. I mean, rather than being rich for things in this life, you should rather be rich toward God, looking toward God, making Him master, letting Him take care of you in your day-by-day living. Your life consists of more than just what you eat and what you put on. It's more. You've got a higher purpose than that right there. I mean, think about it. I mean, does He want you just to, you know, did He have a call on your life? And and a purpose and a plan, and He says, now this is the end result, this is what I want, but between here and there, we hope you make it. I mean, you got to work your butt off and do this, that, and the other to make sure you got enough food, you got shelter, and you got clothes, because, you know, all I'm here for is to make the plan, you know, for you to have that result. No. He is supposed to make sure that you have everything you need until He is done with you in this life. And I want to talk more about that, but you know, I kind of jumped way ahead in my thoughts about what I wanted. I missed the whole body of what I wanted to talk about to get us to that point. But anyway, we'll get it in another video. Take all I'm saying with a grain of salt, and don't worry. It's a command.